This is Seemorerocks and Kevin Hester reporting from Down Under. We're just waiting for a major storm to come through. I think it's already hit Auckland. In fact, I think there are two storm systems coming through, if I'm right. So I'm just going to start, first of all, by reading this weather warning from the Met Service. Stormy weather this weekend, bringing snow to the South Island, heavy rain to the North Island, and strong southerlies near Cook Strait. That's where I am. A very cold southerly airstream is expected to spread out over the South Island today and onto the North Island by this evening and early Sunday. This is expected to bring snow to near sea level about southern and eastern parts of the South Island. Heavy snow is expected above 400 metres in Fiordland and Southland this morning, and in Canterbury and eastern Marlborough this afternoon and evening, where between 10 and 20 centimetres of snow could accumulate in a 6 to 9 hour period. This snow has the potential to cause significant disruptions to transport throughout these areas, cause distress to people or stock in exposed outdoor places, and could damage trees and power lines. It goes on, so I'll print this, but I think we've got the general impression. So I'm going to do this and then get ready to batten down the hatches for this evening. Anyway, so this is storm system number 6, as I've counted, in a little bit more of a month, starting with what were they? Floods in Dunedin, Christchurch, Wellington, Hokitika, Wanganui, and then record cold temperatures in the South Island, and snow in the northeast of the North Island, Gisborne. Oh God, what else is there, Kevin?
Where I'm sitting, it's chaos everywhere. I was getting up a little while ago to do a video of the bullets of gales and gusts that were going through past my place in Auckland, and it's died down a bit, so I'll wait a little while and I'll go out and do that when it winds up again. It seems to be oscillating a little bit at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it will over the next few hours. I haven't actually. There seem to be two systems as far as I understand. One coming from the south, and presumably there's one coming from the north as well, if you're getting it.
Yeah, well, Hawaii's getting it as well. At Mauna Kea in Hawaii, while most of Hawaii is experiencing sweltering conditions this July, part of the Big Island seems like it's in winter because they had snow falling on it overnight. Yeah. It's just outrageous climate disruption.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And just while we're on our little neck of the woods, Australia is just having the most amazing kind of cold weather, and you're seeing snow and things. I mean, you don't associate Australia with snow. I mean, it's incredible.
That's right. As we reported about 10 days ago, I think it was, we had a minus 20 degrees, which is a record for New Zealand, down on the bottom of the South Island. On the day, it was colder than it was in Mount Everest. And climate physics indicates that a warming climate is likely to cause extreme weather and more frequent and intense climate events. Yeah. These extreme events can disrupt terrestrial carbon dynamics drastically by triggering ecological disturbances and potentially forcing climate carbon feedbacks. It's just the future that we're all looking at now. Yeah.
Well, before we get on to the bigger picture, I just want to mention Athens, because that's the news that's just come through. I just got it in the last little hour or so. So on top of austerities and having the gun pointed at them by Germany, the new Nazis and the EU, now the people around Athens are having to cope with fires, and they're evacuating their villages. So this is the future. The future's here now.
The future is here now. If anyone wants to get more information on that, I would suggest that they go to Alex Smith's amazing Radio Echo Shock.
Yeah.
And this week he did a post and an interview, and it was called New Age of Superfires. And I really suggest that people go and have a listen to that. It's about an hour long. It's a wonderful show. Alex Smith does some pretty fantastic work, and he's got all of his previous shows are archived, and I'd highly recommend it.
Absolutely. I've got to go and listen to that myself. I tried listening last night, but I fell asleep. But never mind.
Can I just
yeah,
interject one more time now that we're talking about Alex Smith's show?
yeah,
I think 2 weeks ago he did one where it was called World on Fire, and that is equally important and relevant for what we're talking about at the moment. So there's another show for you to go and have a listen to.
yeah. And meanwhile, I saw something on I think it was the Weather Channel. They did something um, on on this typhoon in Japan, and they were really tying themselves up in knots to try and not to connect this with climate change. I mean, they were saying, that it's this, there's nothing that's unprecedented here. It's all happened before. They were really tying themselves up in knots.
I firmly believe it is part of a greater plan to keep this undercover or sweep it under the carpet.
Yeah,
We're in a time of abrupt climate change now. This is not just normal climate change that we've all been dreading. Jason Box, who has this fantastic project called the Dark Ice Project, is probably the leading expert on Arctic ice and the melt up there. He has started calling it abrupt climate change.
yeah,
And science is reluctant to go there because the minute you admit that we have now abrupt climate change, you know that the biosystem and the weather patterns of this planet are gone and destroyed forever. So, of course, the dominant narrative of capitalism that rules the planet doesn't want anyone to accept that kind of detailed information any sooner than they have to.
Well, that article that came out, I think it was last week, figuring Jason Box, when your day job as what was it called? But I mean, that was absolutely amazing. It just showed the huge pressure that these people are put under.
Absolutely, and a lot of them, their jobs depend on it.
Yes. And they've had death threats, and I mean, you name it, every form of intimidation that you could imagine that's been kind of directed at them.
I just see, as we're having this conversation, this is how dynamic the situation is. Kirk Noring, who's a friend of both yours and mine, has just posted on my wall an article from Truthdig, and it's titled "US Scientists: No Way to Stop Warming of the Oceans." And we have this in every direction that you look. The oceans act as a battery, and they've been absorbing all the carbon, and 90%, or not all the carbon, a huge amount of carbon, and 90% of the heating that we've been emitting has been going into the oceans. Only 10% of it has gone into the atmosphere. And you see this atmospheric chaos that we're seeing now.
And yet we still get this rubbish. I mean, absolute rubbish about this. That there's been no warming in the last 10 years. I mean, you just look at the information, and every year this century has been the warmest year apart from 1998. All the records, are in this century. Where's the I've forgotten what they call it, but the gap in warming, it's not
hiatus.
Hiatus, yes.
Michael Mann did a good paper on discrediting the hiatus, and it's in one of my notes on my Facebook wall. It's a public note; anyone can grab it. But yeah, that's right. There's been interesting details and information came out this week about ExxonMobil and how ExxonMobil have known since 1981 that we were burning of fossil fuels was heating the climate and was going to eventually lead to climate disruption. And they were part of the conspiracy to silence it. The scientists that we know, like people like Paul Beckwith and Guy McPherson. And they've been putting out disinformation for 34 years. When are we ever going to arrest these people for the ecocide and the omnicide that they have been a willing part of?
Well, absolutely. I think that's absolutely key in my mind. The information that's come out, the revelations about not only ExxonMobil but also Shell as well, in their own internal documents, recognising that there was going to be 4 degrees C warming. In fact, that we're looking down the barrel at 6 degrees. All of this is absolutely essential in understanding why we're just not getting this information coming across. And yet it is coming across, isn't it? I mean, I get more and more stuff coming through the media every day that confirms everything that Guy McPherson has been saying.
Yes, and I think where most of the information is coming from, is from the great bloggers that we know. You know,
Yes.
your blog, Seymour Rocks, is one of them. Ken Orphan, another friend of ours, he has a fantastic blog, and that's using his name. And if it wasn't for bloggers, there'd be hardly any of this information. And people, you know, we share it amongst all the ecological groups that we're in. And we're trying to raise the alarm, and to a degree we are. But that's only in the circles of people who are actively engaged and listening to it.
It's not always that way, Kevin, because I went out to the farm the other day. We were just doing something with horses and everything. I just got talking to this other guy who was out there, Ken, and he I don't think that he sort of goes on all the blogs, but he said, "Oh, have you seen this picture? You know, the 6 typhoons out there, 6 in a row." He said, "I find that really frightening." And so, you know, people that kind of, I suppose, are close to nature or think about things a little bit, they are joining the dots.
Oh, absolutely. I think the people who are most aware of the great unraveling that we're watching are sailors and farmers and gardeners, because those people are more in tune with the natural cycles. Whereas the urban population is really just removed from it.
Wow.
And unless they're actively engaged in learning and being involved in the biosphere, all of this can go over their heads. And of course, there's the opiate of the masses. It's sugar, fat, and television, and it's just distracting a lot of people from the reality. But, you know, we were talking about the mainstream media. I do have to take my hat off to the Guardian Environment section.
Yes. No,
they have really been doing some wonderful, wonderful work in the last long time, you know, since our friend Nafiz Ahmed built it up to such a...
Well, actually, they've been doing it for years, really.
Yeah.
The Guardian is such a mixed bag, you know, and they've been doing good stuff on the environment. They've been doing excellent stuff on Greece, but you know, when it comes to Russia, say, I mean, they're right in there with the imperialists. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, but it's all interlocked.
It is interlocked, isn't it? And that's what I said. I put something, I think it was about Greece on the near-term extinction support group, and I just prefaced it by saying, well, if you think this has got nothing to do with near-term extinction, you better think again, you know, because it is.
I firmly believe that the imminent war between Russia and the United States, where the United States has been stalking Russia for ages, you know, they carried out that $5 billion coup in the Ukraine. They're pushing their luck, and really, really hard. And on the surface of it, it doesn't look like, why would they be doing this and being so taking such a dangerous position at this stage? And I think it's because they know that the biosphere is unraveling. Very soon, it's going to be the last battles for habitat, and the game will soon be up.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's the only thing that explains all of this sort of total insanity. That and of course the battle for the last remaining drops of energy, of oil.
It's completely nuts. Barack Obama has signed certification for Shell to go up into the Arctic and drill for more oil, when every single one of us knows that we can't burn the oil we already have.
Yeah.
If that isn't an acceptance that the game is up, what is?
Yeah, and I just can't get my head around it, because I mean, these people, the heads of corporations and governments, they have children and grandchildren as well.
I think I have the answer to that.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the top of corporatism and capitalism, you'll find a predominance of psychopaths and
Yes,
sociopaths.
sociopaths, that's
I
right.
think capitalism really lends itself to psychopathy, because the people who do best in capitalism have this complete lack of empathy
Yes.
and concern about what happens to the consequences of their decisions. So I think that those people get to the top, and you and I and people like us, we go, oh, how can they sleep at night?
Yes.
That they can sleep at night because they are ill.
Yeah, yeah.
They are unwell with a
Yeah.
neurological problem.
And then I see people who have been at the top of the rung, sort of 30 years ago, like Paul Craig Roberts. I mean, he was secretary of the Treasury in Reagan's administration, for God's sake. But he's a sane person. He has normal kind of feelings as a human being. These people who are in charge, they don't.
If someone like Paul Craig Roberts had become president of the United States, this planet might have survived another 100 years. Or I don't mean the planet. The planet will be here forever.
Yes.
But the people and most of the species on it. This is how close we came to having good leadership, and it was lost. So,
well, I have to respond to that by saying, well, maybe, and I mean, we have to look at recent events in Greece to see that, a good person is not a bad person, Alexis Tsipras, and look what he's been forced into, into selling off his own people. And
absolutely,
I
understand
think,
that. They either get turned
everybody,
or they get assassinated.
Yeah.
I personally believe that a military coup took place in Dallas in the 1960s, the day that a magic bullet killed the President of the United States. I think that was a military coup.
Yeah. Well, you may be right.
I'd say that the last form of democracy in that country died that day with that one magic bullet that entered and exited and re-entered his body. I don't know how many times.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at what came before Kennedy as well, I mean, it was still a democracy.
Yes, well, I can't remember off the top of my head the name of the president the U.S. president who warned about the rise of the military industrial.
That was Kennedy's predecessor. That was Eisenhower.
He warned about the rise of the military industrial complex, and it has happened. It is the same organisation that has this sort of hand in the background that's controlling all the wars that are going on around the world. It's incredibly tragic.
Yeah.
And we get to see the end of the movie.
Yeah, well, some of us do anyway. Yeah.
How bizarre.
Yeah. Oh, well, anyway, I'm going to go down now and batten down the hatches and get ready for this for the storm, make sure that nothing's going to blow away. But I'm looking behind you at the moment. That your fronds behind you don't seem to be moving too much, so maybe you're in a lull at the moment.
Yes, well, it's either tracked further south and is heading in your direction, or we're in a lull. If it does take off again, I will video it and I'll send that to you so that you can put it in your amazing blog.
Well, my hunch is that probably it's a lull in the storm. I don't think you would have got off quite so lightly, but well, we'll see.
Time will tell.
And we'll be in touch after this.
Excellent.
Okay, nice to talk to you, Kevin.
As always.
Yeah, thank you.
Go well.